Welcome back to the Rhode Island National Guard podcast. I'm your host, Major Mark Incze. On today's episode, we speak with Staff Sgt. Will Naylor, who just won the Directors 54 National Guard Recruiter of the Year Award. Out of more than 4,000 National Guard recruiters nationwide, he was selected number 1 in 2024. We spent some time talking about the challenges he faces as a recruiter, sort of who are the 17 and 18-year-olds of today, how to talk to them, what they care about, what brings them into the Guard. We talked about some of the challenges and some of the advantages of recruiting in 2025 versus some previous eras. It's a great conversation. I had a lot of fun, and if that sounds interesting to you, please join us. What's a day in the life of the nation's best recruiter?
You want the real answer? Because my boss is going to listen to this. So no. Every day is so different. I could have a plan for today, and it could change like that, especially when you're new. Is a dog fight. I used to wake up at like 6. I'd get out at like 7 and go straight to a school, drop some stuff off at a school, maybe do a table display. That brings me to about 11. At like 11 o'clock, I'd go out, I'd get lunch in my area, try and talk to people in my area, find like a cool spot that lets me put pamphlets up, stuff like that. That would bring me to like probably 1 o'clock. At that point, I'd probably have some appointments scheduled for kids coming out of school. So I'd have to post appointments, meet with parents, stuff like that. That would probably bring me to like 5 o'clock. And then it's phone call time, right? So if people are home, time to make some phone calls, whether it's, you know, a name and number from like a school list or an event that I did on the weekend or something like that. I'd probably call till about 7 o'clock. And once I started getting the like, hey, I'm trying to eat dinner, leave me alone, probably where I would stop making phone calls. And I'd eat dinner, and then it's Instagram time, right? So like it's
Wow.
Yeah,
That's busy.
When you first start, it's brutal.
We'll do like a formal introduction, but I'm just really curious. I want this answer on tape. So you actually teach classes at Penn High School?
Well, not as like a teacher, but
Okay.
I will go in as like a guest speaker, I guess.
Okay.
Because they have, especially Pilgrim, but I know a lot of recruiters do a lot of CTE programs.
What does that stand for?
Career and Tech Education.
Okay.
So that's all of the networking programs, stuff like that.
Yep.
So Pilgrim has Surviving the Wild, as well as a lifesaver pathway. So that prepares kids for like EMTB, nursing, pretty much any medical pathway. And like I'm a big history buff, so I'll go in and I'll talk about like the National Guard's history when they're covering the American Revolution, and I'll go over all of that stuff.
Do you go in uniform?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. So let me just, is this normal? Or is this unique to you, or is this like something that we actually do like all over the place?
It's definitely not unique to me. I'm not the first one to do it.
Okay.
I'm not the only one doing it.
Okay.
I can't speak for other people's schools. I just know that Pilgrim and I have a very good relationship.
Okay.
To the point where I can pretty much, I have no finance background. I've gone in and I've talked about finance and looped it into the TSP and how all that stuff works.
Got it. Okay. So like I'm shocked and amazed because I won't share which high school I went to so as not to embarrass them.
Yeah.
But like recruiters were barely allowed in our high school. And when they were like the weirdos who were told to stand in the back on career day and not talk to the kids. Mm-hmm. Like if I catch you talking to my kids, well, I'm going to kick you out of the school. It's like, okay, why did you let them in the first place?
So that happens a lot, actually. So when I first started recruiting, I was in a different area. I won't use but there was one school that no matter what I did, I would bring all the coffee and donuts in the world to the guidance staff, and there was nothing.
Wow.
And that's hard to overcome, especially if you're like a new recruiter.
Sure.
And everybody's telling you like, go to your school. And you're like, my school won't let me in. Like, what am I supposed to do? I think they changed something now that the schools like have to let you in.
Okay.
Any federally funded school has to let you in like once a month for like a table display or something. But
that makes sense. And we've talked about this. So I work for the legislative affairs or the legislative liaison. And like we've talked about it, like should we pursue a state level legislation mandating it? And we kind of go back and forth and decided like maybe bullying schools into letting you guys in hurts more than it helps. So we haven't, but we recognize the problem. And how did you end up so it was an administration change that overcame it, or you switched schools and you never overcame it?
No, so I slightly overcame it over there. I overcame it drastically in one school because I was in an area that both of my schools were like, hey, buddy, we're good.
You stay away from our kids.
Yeah. I started, this is going to sound a little devious, but I started going around people.
Okay.
And I realized that I did not need everybody to tell me that I was good to come in and do stuff.
Okay.
I just needed one person to come in and tell me to do stuff.
Okay.
So it started with like a history class. Like I went in and I taught a little bit about the American Revolution and the National Guard's involvement and all this, that. And then the history teacher, told like another history teacher that was doing the same thing. So then now I had like kind of the history department on my side.
Okay.
And so I just kind of went department to department to the point where it was just normal for me to come in.
Yeah, I like it.
And then I got on like a first name basis with the principal and
okay. I like it. As a history guy myself, I was on track to be a history professor before I joined the Army and made this my full-time career. But like that was the dream. Proud of my boys representing. To be honest, I find it really strange that people wouldn't want recruiters in their schools. And I was thinking about this, trying to formulate my own opinion before we came on today's podcast. And I realized, like, I don't think anyone offers a more universally accessible, like, head start on life as the National Guard does.
Nope.
Like, if you want your kids to succeed, and ostensibly you should, like, if you're a school principal, if you're a career counselor, like, I imagine your life's goal is to like make sure your 18-year-old kids leave your school and become productive members of society. Like no one has a more universally accessible head start. And it's stuff that maybe an 18-year-old isn't excited about, but like if you're 45 and you've made life, you should recognize our benefits instantly. It's like we give you access to the cheapest healthcare you're ever going to get. It's free when you're on orders, and it's like the most affordable healthcare when it's not on orders. That's a huge step up. We'll help you buy a house.
Yeah.
You know, like you could enlist at 18 years old and by 24, you can buy a house.
Yeah.
Like how many of your students have that going for them?
Yeah.
How many of your students have a weekend job that pays them, you know, a couple $100 for like 2 days of work?
And contributes to like their retirement and all of that stuff.
Like you're 18 years old, here's your 401k.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, I don't know if that's a pitch that you can use on an 18-year-old. I think at 18, like I don't know anything at 18 years old. But you know, like pitching a school administrator.
Yeah.
Like they should
like
know
a civic
better.
leader is what we call them.
Civic
in
leader.
the field, a civic leader.
They should know better. They should be like, oh my God, you can give my kids a job. Like you know, you guys have these huge networks of employers, right? Like you want employment support? We've got that. They had a family a little early in life. We got that. We got a family assistance center. Like, you know, welcome to the National Guard. We got you.
So it's weird because I have this conversation with a lot of teachers, not so much now, but when I first started, and they're all on board. They're all like, oh, if I could go back, I 100% would do this. It's a sweet gig. And then it's like, all right, cool. Can I come do like a display? And I'm like, I don't know. But like, whoa, wait, which one? And I'm not knocking on any teachers that do that. Like I understand kind of the red tape and and everything like that. But
yeah, and they're probably accountable to some parents. So like you can pitch a teacher, and that teacher has to pitch the parent to say like, I'm gonna let a recruiter come talk to your kid.
And that's definitely happened. Like, so I've done table displays, and I've called the school lists because we get a list of all the schools. I mean, of all the students in the school, and parents are angry that I'm just I'm like, hey, I'm just presenting the option. Like I'm not forcing your kid to come in and sign up for the National Guard. You know, but you're 100% right. It's like the parents are just like, why are you trying to convince my kid to join the military? It's like, I'm not. I'm just telling them about all the things that you just said.
Yeah, you know, and I don't get that either. You know,
no.
I mean, maybe I'm a bit of a cynical, dark pessimist, but like I look out on the world, and my daughter's only 2, so I don't have to face this option just yet. But like if my daughter were 18 today, like I can't picture a single career path here in Rhode Island that I could recommend as being a better first step.
Yep.
Yeah, like I can't. I genuinely can't. Like what college do you go to? For what career path that will give you more benefits the day you join, right? And then provide more services for the
at 18 years old, like right away.
Even the shortest possible list. If you only do a 6-year, like the absolute basic level. You're still leaving here with a 401k you get to keep because you're vested after 5 years. So your 6-year enlistment counts. You leave here with VA eligibility for a house loan.
Yep.
Like all the best benefits after a single enlistment you get to keep. Like,
and it's, I think we did the math. I think like a 6-year contract ends up being like 250 days or something like that.
Okay.
Of total working.
Yeah.
Like opposed to the 365 days. Like you're not even doing a full year worth of work realistically in that 6 year. So you're, to your point, you're not going to find anything that's going to trump that, you know?
No, and even if you're like an entrepreneur, say you're like a super high agency kid who's going to go start his own business and make his own way in the world. First off, congratulations. That's an awesome life choice.
You need health insurance.
You need health insurance. And like, you're not going to meet anybody, right? Like the best way to meet the most number of people and start building a reputation right away. It's like, all right, you join a company, you're now drilling with 150 dudes.
Yep.
That you just, it's like school. You have to see them every single month. You see the same dudes every single month. Like you start building a social network day one.
I tell that to a lot of kids that are interested in that, that like hands-on work and like the engineers, right? So we have the engineer unit. I'm like, hey, you want to be a carpenter? Come be a carpenter in the Guard. And then guess what? You're going to be working with like an electrician in the Guard. And that electrician is going to be an electrician outside. And he's not able to do the carpentry work, right? So now you've got your own kind of little, you might not find somebody in that unit that directly needs you to be their carpenter, but you're going to get referrals and all of this stuff.
Yeah, and I've seen it. So I actually
100% happens.
I started at the engineers. It's where I commissioned into. And I got to see it. I saw dudes starting their own like lawn care service. They needed workers, so they hired their own buddies out of there. And then they were like, I need to expand my business. They found their business loan from another soldier who happened to be like a loan officer at a bank. I was like, holy cow, this guy's and now he's, a reasonably successful, entrepreneur.
Especially in Rhode Island, because Rhode Island is such a state where like you have to have a guy.
Yeah.
And I've like all of my guys that I have, like electricians and everything like that, probably comes from the National Guard.
Yeah. I would say all of my guys are, I met here and cultivated those relationships.
The cool part is they might not even be like electricians in the Guard. They might be like an MP in the Guard, but they're also an electrician on the outside. And it's like, oh, dude, I need your help.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable, the collection of professions we have.
Yeah.
So I've served with soldiers who, and get this, no joke, they're a weather scientist for interstellar weather. Like they specialize in like storms and Mars. Like, okay. And like she was like a mechanic.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, hey, that's pretty cool.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I've met bankers and entrepreneurs and farmers and lawyers and doctors, none of whom were working in their regular field. Like, nurse practitioners who were infantrymen. Yeah, I've worked with them. They're great.
I for whatever reason, I enlist a lot of police officers.
Sure.
And that are just like, hey, I just want to do something. And they're like, I'll just be like an MP. I'm like, I don't know if you want to do that. So what I found is that like if you're a police officer, and this isn't just for police, it's just for electricians, carpenters, everything.
Yep.
That if you're doing that job Monday through Friday, is that really what you want to come do Saturday, Sunday? Like, why don't you come do something either cool, learn a trade, something like that, right? Yeah. So like I'll put a lot of police officers into the infantry. And I'm like, you joined the Guard because you want to do something else. Like, let's do something. Yeah. Let's jump out of airplanes. Let's do something really cool.
Let's do something really high speed. Some guys want something really low speed. So one of my lieutenants, he's like, you know what? I really wanted to be an HR officer. So he's a cop. He was in Johnston. I think now he's in Pawtucket or something. But he was like, I get all the action I want during the week. Like, I just want to come and have like an office job. And I'm like, all right, welcome to the HR world, my friend.
I won't use any names, but there is an individual out there. He's an E4, and he runs a massive company.
Okay.
It's massive. And so he has like 200 people that he's in charge of or something like that.
Okay.
And so he's a really good soldier. And every time they're like, dude, like, do you want to be a sergeant? Like we're ready to promote you. And he's like, I'm already in charge of a lot of people on the civilian side. Like, I don't know if I want to be in charge. And like, so like, it's kind of funny and it sounds weird, but I get that like mentality of like, he joined because he wanted to do what he's doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And he's just not interested kind of in that
Reminds
role.
me of one of my favorite soldiers. I was a commander of the 110th Pad for a couple of years. I had a great soldier, very experienced, strong background, great leadership skills. Every year signed like, I don't want to be considered for promotion. Yeah, he did that for about 10 years, and then just very recently, finally was like, all right, I'll sign. All right, I'll be considered for promotion. Like, of course, he gets selected right away because he's got 1,000 years of experience and all that good stuff. So it is funny. It takes all types. We take all types for sure in the National Guard. All right, so we actually brought you in because you just won an award for being such a great guy.
The Great Guy Award.
The Great Guy Award. Tell me about the Great Guy Award.
So I am the nation's #1 recruiter, Recruiting and Retention NCO, because we are not just recruiters in the National Guard. There are 4,086, somewhere around that, National Guard recruiters, and I'm #1.
Okay,
kind of cool.
That is pretty cool.
So the pathway for that, it's called the Directors 54 Award. So each state chooses a Directors 54 within their state.
Okay.
So I was fiscal year 24's Directors 54. So then we go and, the country is broken, the 54 states and territories are broken down into a region. Mm-hmm. And so we're part of SHRAC, the Strength, Readiness, Advisory Council. So SHRAC 1, which is, pretty much the Northeast. It's New Jersey and up.
Okay. Yep.
And so we competed in November for the regional winner.
Okay.
Which is a board against all the sergeants major in the region. So I won the regional one, which is kind of cool. I was the second person in Rhode Island ever to win the regional award.
Okay.
And then
take that, Massachusetts.
Yeah. No, Connecticut. Mass is cool. We've got beef with Connecticut.
Oh, we do.
Yeah. Oh, there's like recruiting beef with Connecticut.
Oh, see, this is news to me.
Yeah. Because they're like comparable to us. Mass is like giant. Connecticut's giant as well, but we're like kind of in line with Connecticut a little bit more than we are in line with Massachusetts.
Well, from like a ratio perspective, we're like 3 times better than Connecticut.
Yeah,
they have 3 times the population, but we maintain the same size force.
Yep. No hate to Connecticut.
No hate,
but all hate to Connecticut.
That's funny. I would have assumed we had beef with Massachusetts. 2 reasons. One, the South Coast culturally should be ours. You look at Seekonk, Rehoboth, Somerset, like that should be ours, but it's theirs.
So there's like
Not right.
There's kind of like a little war going on those borders there.
Yeah, we should just take those over, just annex them.
Well,
like Greenland.
We kind of took Tiverton from them.
Did we?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the history of Tiverton. We bought it from Massachusetts in like 17 something or something like that, or whatever.
I live in Tiverton. That was a terrible investment.
It makes sense. Like you can't get to Tiverton without going through Massachusetts.
Yeah. Well,
as much as I like Tiverton.
Yeah. Why would you like?
Because I'm a recruiter. I have to like Tiverton. I have to like every part of the state.
Okay. You're my recruiter then.
I'm not the Tiverton recruiter. But,
no. Okay.
But I have to like every part of the state still.
Got it.
I mean, Warwick is the best part of the state, but
my wife would agree with you.
Yeah.
She's a Warwick native.
Yeah. I'm a Cranston guy myself, but
okay.
I'm the Warwick recruiter, so I rep heavy.
That's fair.
For the Pilgrim Patriots. So not so much beef with Mass, a little bit of beef with Connecticut.
Okay.
New York is historically like the #1. I think they won like the Recruiting and Retention Battalion of the Year for like the 3rd year in a row or something like that. It's always between them, Texas, and California.
Yeah. Oh, imagine that, the 3 largest national
states. Yeah, their forces are giant. So
look at all the surprise I hold in my hand.
I won the region, and then we went to it's called the DSMAC a couple weeks ago, maybe a week and a half ago. So they bring every state's Directors 54 in, state and territory. And then the 7 regional winners go a day earlier and board on the 2nd day.
Got it.
Which, as much fun as it was, we boarded on day 2 and didn't find out the results till like day 5.
Wow.
So we're all like hanging out with each other and we're like being buddy, and it's like, man, I really hope you lost and I won, you know?
This guy's a real jerk. I hope he loses.
Yeah, so the Thursday night was we got there on a Monday, and the Thursday night was the awards ceremony. And I get up on stage, I'm holding my regional, so they bring all the regional award winners out, and you're just holding your regional award, and then that's how they announce the national winner.
Just got to build that suspense.
Oh, yeah, it was terrible. And I was the first regional award, because I'm in Shrek 1.
Sure.
So I went up on stage first. So I'm just standing there listening to them call everybody else up and waiting for the national award. And it was like the closest thing I've ever been to a celebrity or a professional sports athlete. Like when I won, it was crazy. Because I'm pretty cool with a lot of recruiters. There were kids that I went, or I don't want to say kids. There were guys that I went to recruiting school with that won their Directors 54 for their state.
Okay.
So I knew like a good amount of the room between the region and then the people that I knew.
Yeah.
And when I won, the room popped, you know?
Yeah, I think I saw someone's cell phone footage of that.
Out of approximately 4,000 Army National Guard Recruiting and Retention NCOs nationwide, the winner of the 2024 Top Recruiting and Retention Non-Commissioned Officer of the Year is Staff Sgt. William Naylor.
That would be Master Sergeant Verone's.
Nice.
Shout out to Master Sergeant Verone. Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
He's the one screaming, whoa.
Yeah, I knew I saw it on Facebook, so yeah.
Yeah.
Joey's. That's great. Also, calling people kids, that's a problem that just gets worse as you get older.
It's really bad. Yeah. And I did it as a kid. Like that was like our lingo.
Okay.
We'd be like, oh, what's up, kid? Like, yeah, not much, kid. How are you? Like, I don't know where that came from.
Yeah.
But now that I call like new soldiers kids. They'll be like, I'll enlist like a guy that's like 5 years older than me. I'm like, this kid, like, oh, wait a minute, he's like married and has 3 kids, and like,
it gets really bad as you gain rank. What I found is like whatever rank someone was when you first met them and served with them, like that's the rank they'll be emotionally for you forever.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was company commander, and I like 110 dudes, all mine. And like whatever rank they were at that point when I was their commander, forever they're just kind of that
mentally
person.
they're
like they're just that specialist Merrill forever. She's like a staff sergeant now and has her own soldiers. And still calls me and I'm like, hey kid, what's up? Every time. Every time.
It's weird as a recruiter because I'll enlist people that will probably I'll enlist like a 09 Sierra, an officer candidate. Mm-hmm. Like in a year and a half, they're gonna outrank me.
Sure.
And it's gonna go from like, hey man, just do what I'm telling you to do, trust me.
Yeah.
To like, oh sir, how are you, ma'am? How are you? You know? But in my mind, I'm like, I remember you, man. Like I met you at a table display when you were whatever, you know?
Yeah, and you'll probably remember them fondly. I remember my recruiter, Adam Vita. He may have retired, but
he was my like master trainer.
Oh, was
when
he?
I first started, he was like the guy that kind of showed me the ropes. Yeah.
Yeah, man, I love that guy.
Yeah, he's a good dude. Cranston guy as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So super good dude. Enlisted me with like all reverse psychology. It was brilliant. At the time, they were transitioning Charlie Company from a 36-man LURS to like a 150-man airborne infantry company.
Yep.
So like overnight they have a shortfall of 90 some odd, 100 some odd. So like everyone who enlists from July 1st until mission complete, everyone has to become an 11 Bravo. And I happened to be talking to him, and like we were talking about some higher ASVAB kind of jobs. He's like, military intelligence and da. And he was like, yeah, you know what? You belong there. I don't think you'd like the infantry. I'm like, what do you mean? Why wouldn't I like the infantry? He's like, you're kind of a heady guy. You kind of like sitting around thinking, those guys, they just kind of like, they're always sweating and doing stuff.
I can hear Evita saying that, like, I don't know.
Yeah, and I'm like, I can sweat and do stuff because I'm like a 21-year-old guy. So you tell me I can't do something and like I'm not manly enough to do it. Like, I'm like, you give me that paperwork right now. I'll sign up for Charlie Company. So he was brilliant.
Yeah, I have like this saying that the only thing harder, infantry is a weird world.
Okay, y'all. You don't have to convince me, but
I have this saying that the only thing harder to do than convincing somebody to join the infantry
yep,
is convincing somebody
not to join.
not to join the infantry.
Sure.
So like people will come into like, I'll get a phone call or something like, hey, I want to join the infantry. I'm like, all right, man, come to the office tomorrow and we'll make it happen. Like there's no like never any conversation of a job.
Yep.
There it's, you know, that I want to join the infantry and perfect. Like I love hearing the words, I want to join the infantry as a recruiter.
Sure.
But it is hard to like, it's funny that he was able to kind of morph you into infantry.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure you did not regret. But it is like, it's a totally different style of recruiting, infantry versus like
So
that stuff.
I do have regrets, and this is 100% genuine.
Mm-hmm.
My only regret is that I didn't split option enlist at 17 years old.
Yep.
If I woke up tomorrow,
I want to bring you to my high school, put you at a table display.
like no joke, if I woke up tomorrow 15 years old on my 17th birthday, I would make my parents drive me to the recruiter's office and wave me in as a split option.
Yeah.
Like that is the coolest program I have ever come across, bar none.
It does not get used enough. And I don't know if, like, I remember when I was in high school, like a lot of people were doing, I went to Cranston East, so we had a JROTC, so maybe that had something to do with it, but I had a lot of people like, you know, grades above me do that split op program. I was unfortunate. I graduated early. I graduated when I was 17, so I was 16 as a junior, so I couldn't do it. But I still did like a semester. Like my regret is I did like a semester at CCRI first.
Okay.
I'm like, let me try this out, see like if I actually do want to join the military. And I think I lasted like 3 weeks at CCRI, and I was like, I hit like the withdrawal period, and I was like, yep, that's it, I'm done. See you later. Got to go.
Yeah, I'm out.
Yeah, yeah. So my only regret is like wasting, because I could have joined in like May or June. I could have joined and then I could have gone all the way. I could have had like a year done by that time.
I was gonna say I could be at 17 years now, or in my case, if I had done a split option, I'd be at 20.
Yeah,
I'd be at 20.
But the split ops program, I completely agree. There are not enough kids doing it now than there were like 10 years ago or 13 years ago when I joined, 12, whatever it is. But if I could have done it, knowing what I know now, 100%. I would also do 09 Romeo.
What's that?
So that's I would have done ROTC at like URI or something.
Got it.
As much as I love being a 25 series, Signal Corps, you can talk about us, but you can't talk without us. I probably would have done 09 Romeo. I would have gone like the officer route, but
that's funny.
Yeah.
I would have stayed enlisted longer.
So
I commissioned very shortly after. I was enlisted for a little under 4 years.
Okay.
And I look back and I wish I probably still would have commissioned around 25 if I could do it all again, but I would have enlisted at 17.
Yeah, you would have started.
I think those extra 3 and a half,
early.
extra 4 years would have made a big difference.
Yeah.
Done a couple more schools, get a little more NCO experience. Because there's a lot of stuff you don't get to do as an officer, and have fun is one of them.
Yeah.
Like there's just not like platoon leader is kind of fun, and then it's like the fun stops.
Yeah.
Like it's not fun after that.
Paperwork.
Yeah, paperwork, responsibility, and then like all the really cool stuff, like the sniper school slots or more, free fall slots, or it's like, well, you don't get to go as an officer.
Yep.
As an officer, you're kind of a rental piece. You're only there for a couple of years, and then you're going to go away to staff somewhere. So why would I invest really cool high speed stuff in you
when you're leaving in 2 years,
or
something?
Like I'm going to give that to the specialist who's going to keep that skill here in the company for
potentially 15 more years.
Right, exactly. And that's everything: air assault, sapper, range, like all the cool stuff.
Yeah.
So
and so that's why it's interesting about that 09 Romeo and that ROTC piece is like they get to go to all of these really cool schools as an ROTC cadet, but then they come into the officer side and they're so used to like every year it's like air assault, airborne, all this stuff, so that when they do get to a unit they at least have something.
Yeah.
And then they get nothing after that.
Yeah.
But,
so maybe there's another regret, or at least a piece of advice for the ROTC kids out there. Like definitely do that stuff while you're young.
Do it
sign up for all of it, because eventually you're going to turn 30 and your body's going to be like, sapper, are you crazy? You're not going to sapper. You're 30, buddy.
Yeah. But it's interesting you joined at 21. That's what you said, right? 21?
Yeah, I was almost
21-ish?
22.
Yeah.
I was 22 when I shipped.
Because that and that was 17 years ago? You said you've been in for 17-ish?
It's 2008. So whatever that math comes out to be. It's like
You're the
it'll be
opposite. You're supposed to
17
do it.
years this March 31st.
Okay.
So Saturday
Yeah.
or
Congrats.
Sunday it'll be
So like I remember, again, not to be like back in my day, like I joined 12 years ago, whatever, but like that was 18. It was 18. Like I remember going to RSP and being like one of 50 18-year-olds. And if there was like a 21-year-old, I'm like, look at this old guy joining, you know?
That's so funny.
But it's true. And like I would go to basic and AIT. I went with this kid who was from he's older than me. We did it again, full circle. Who was from Rhode Island. He was like 22. And I'm like, dude, you're old, man.
Yeah.
And now I'm 30. I'm like, but the age gap, the age shift has kind of like happened. So like as a recruiter, I'm seeing less 18-year-olds and more of those like 19, 20, 21-year-olds. And so like those are that's the young crew now. And then when you do get that 17, you're like, oh, you're a baby. Like, you joined really young.
That's funny. No, in 2008, it was really old, right? So 2008 was prime surge years in Iraq. So 22, I was pretty young. I was worried I was going to go and people were going to call me Gramps, and because like at RSP, I was one of the old guys.
Yeah.
But man, I got the basic training.
Like, oh, I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah. We had guys who like couldn't spell their name.
That's crazy.
It was an interesting time. Time.
And there was like no programs back then for like, so we have like an ASVAB improvement program now.
Yeah.
So if you score between if you get below a 31 on the AFQT, but you get a 21 through 30, the Army will send you to like an ASVAB program.
Okay.
And so you'll go there like right before basic. That's what you're doing. You're just getting better at the ASVAB. Study, ASVAB until you pass, and then you choose your job down there, and you go on to training. But it's crazy that so that's in my brain. That's not that long ago.
Yeah.
2008. I know it kind of is in the grand scheme of things as far as like the military goes. But there's like nothing. So they were just letting people in. And
yeah, I'll tell you, it doesn't feel that long ago. I mean, it's like 17 years, but it doesn't feel that long.
Yeah.
Much of that feels still very fresh. Like I still remember the faces and the neck tattoos of the guys who...
And they're back. Let's go.
Yeah, let's do it. The Air Force won't watch it, but we'll take you.
Yeah.
Circling back to your Directors 54 competition.
Yeah.
So like what makes you the best recruiter? Like I assume it doesn't look like a best warrior competition. They're probably not making you uncomfortable in a
no,
AWC
it's
lane.
So a lot goes into it, right? So numbers are a big thing.
Okay.
There were definitely people in other states that had higher numbers than me.
Okay.
I think being from Rhode Island probably helped because we're considered a small state. I was the only small state. I believe I was the only small state that won their region. I think everybody else was like, Tennessee and like Georgia, like all these big states kind of.
Yep.
So numbers definitely play a factor in that. So it's kind of like a whole recruiting and retention NCO concept.
Okay.
So they look at numbers probably first, and it's a board. So they sit, the regional board and the national board were very different as far as board styles go.
Yep.
The regional board was your typical Army board. Like there is one answer to this question, and what is the answer to this question? What is this regulation? What is this chapter? What is this?
Yeah.
The national board was like all of the questions, pretty much, probably 60% of the questions were open-ended questions.
Ooh.
So they were like really testing your knowledge, like who you are as a person, who you are as a recruiter, who are you as a retention NCO.
Okay.
And so it was a board that was really the competition. And they Rhode Island I kind of had an advantage going into it. A, being a small state. B, we're one of the only states that, so I'm assigned to RSP, the white face platoon sergeant. So I'm responsible for pretty much all the training.
Yeah.
Or actually executing the training that goes on at RSP. But because we're such a small state, we only have like 20 recruiters. I'm also a retention NCO for the 115th.
Okay.
Whereas like other states will split that responsibility. So half of their recruiters will be RSP NCOs. The other half will be retention NCOs.
Got it.
So I knew pretty much everything as far as like regulations, because I have to know because
You're doing it.
I'm doing both.
Yeah,
right?
that makes sense.
So I was a little bit of an advantage. You know, I got a little lucky, I guess, but you know, I say that luck is the fine space where opportunity meets preparedness. So I had the opportunity to be a Rhode Island recruiter. I was prepared to go to the board, and yeah.
When you say numbers, do those get tracked on just total numbers, or that get tracked as a ratio? Like the guy who puts 10 humans in from Providence versus the guy who puts 10 humans in from Westerly.
Yeah, so Rhode Island's weird because our whole state is open. So I can enlist anybody from any part of the state.
Okay.
Because we are a small state.
Yeah.
Other states aren't really like that. It's, you know, if you're the Brockton recruiter, like you're only enlisting people in Brockton.
Okay.
So in Rhode Island, it's 1 a month. That's our mission. So
Yeah.
Our mission is 12 for everybody. When numbers get evaluated at that national level, it definitely has more of that impact of like, at least I think, right? I'm not a sergeant major on the board, so I don't really know. But I would imagine that you know, somebody in Texas that enlists 24 people versus somebody in Rhode Island that enlists 24 people are kind of viewed like two different, you know, numbers. The number is 24, but
Yeah.
I would argue that the 24 in Rhode Island was harder to do than the 24 in Texas.
It makes sense.
Yep.
I imagine Texas sort of, kids probably enlist themselves in Texas. It's Texas.
And so like other states also, like I have one high school. Well, I have two high schools. So
I was going to say, do you split Tollgate with somebody? Or?
I don't have Tollgate.
You don't have Tollgate. So
No,
you have Warwick.
Warwick is split in half.
Okay.
Right? I have technically, as far as the system goes, I have one high school because we can only really account for public schools in the system.
Okay.
But I also have Bishop Hendricken. So I have Bishop Hendricken and Pilgrim.
Okay.
But there are, you know, recruiters in other states that have 20 schools or, and you know, like 10 zip codes. Like
Yeah.
I have one zip code and half of a city and 2 schools. So I think that goes probably into account.
That's so interesting because like now my marketing brain is rolling, and you're talking about like broad opportunity versus like a deeply saturated market. Like you probably get way more face time with the average student,
Way more.
you know, and that, so you have like deeper market penetration, a lot more like personal.
Yeah, they know me.
Yeah. But
They
you
know me.
don't get to play the numbers game.
No.
Right? Like they get to just do like the mass mailer, just
They're
blasts.
Accuracy by volume style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, and I have the luxury of getting a ton of FaceTime. But I don't get to just like send out flyers and like, you know, if you send a flyer to 200,000 people, one of them is probably going to call you.
Sure. But there aren't 200,000
There aren't
kids in
200,000
Rhode
kids.
Island.
Yeah.
That's fair.
And there definitely are not 200,000 kids in half of Warwick, right?
Right.
So,
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, it's just a different game than like a recruiter and say someone gets assigned the Bronx or, you know, Manhattan or whatever.
Yeah. Sarah McLeary from New York was their director's 54. He's the Bronx recruiter.
He probably just sticks his head out the window in the morning like, who wants to join?
So it's weird because part of that DSMAC was, you know, best practices and all of this stuff. And, and some of those big states, they're like, I don't go to my high school, man. Like, why would I go to my high school? Like there's way more people outside of my high school than there are people in the high school. Why would I go to my high school? I'm like, what do you mean you don't go to your high school? That's the only thing I do.
Yeah.
All I do is my high school. So it is weird, like the, you know, marketing brain, the demographic play there for like the number of people. But yeah, the Bronx recruiter, he pretty much just goes out on the street, as we say.
And just hits the street.
Hits the street and talks to people.
Wow.
Like, I don't have that luxury. Where am I going to go? Spikes, junkyard dogs? Like,
Now I want to create some surveys. Like I want to know like what kind of human, like who do you attract in the Guard if you only recruit on the street versus who do you attract into the Guard if you only recruit in a high school? Because that can't be the same.
no, probably not. I don't know what the difference would be. That would be like a weird that would be a cool survey to know.
Yeah.
But it would be weird. It would be interesting to see like the age difference. Like, are they just getting like 19-year-olds that like heard about the Guard and then like didn't, pull the trigger, so to say, and
Yeah.
or are they getting 24-year-olds, 25-year-olds that are like, I hate my job, man. I want to switch it up.
Yeah. And then like, what are the downstream results of that?
Yeah.
Like if you're grabbing 18-year-olds right out of the wellspring, does that have like 20-year, 25-year, 30-year implications versus 25-year-olds off the street who are struggling to make ends meet as a cell phone salesman?
Yeah.
Right? Like, it feels like that would have a different result 25 years down the road, but like, I couldn't even begin to imagine what it is.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Man, now I'm wicked interested.
But I wouldn't. I love high school recruiting.
Yeah.
I've done. I won't say that I don't go out and prospect. My boss might listen to this. So I hit the street. I hit the street every day. I'm prospecting. But it's a numbers game on the back end as well, right?
Yep.
I could go out to a Walmart and talk to 100 people, and maybe one of them says yes, and that's great because that's the average. Realistically, it's like 100 to 1.
Okay.
Because 99% of America does not want to join, so it's normal for people to say no. Or 99% of America hasn't joined. That doesn't mean they don't want to.
Important distinction for your line of work.
Yep. But whereas like in a high school, I'm in front of 150, 200 kids, and I don't have to talk to one-on-one. I can bring them to a field trip. I can bring 30 kids here to do a field trip at CSMS with the automotive career and tech program.
Yep.
And pull 2 enlistments out of it. Because 2 kids are like, well, I didn't know you guys did all this,
Yeah.
I'm not doing any like sneaky recruiter work. It's just they didn't know that we did this. Now they know we did this. Now they're interested in joining.
Yeah.
High schools, I think, are just...
Pro tip, if you want to be a mechanic out there, diesel mechanics make more than gas mechanics.
Yep.
And we exclusively work with diesels here in the Rhode Island National Guard.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Come be a diesel mechanic with us.
Yeah. Call. No, just kidding. 401 Go Guard. Yeah.
No, it makes a lot of sense. And with the extra face time, you get to make like a different pitch, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't have to give them the headlines because you're only going to see them. Like you're going to see this kid more than once. You probably get to like figure out what this kid really wants out of life and figure out truly if this is a good fit for him.
So I'm glad you said that because a lot of people come into recruiting or have this like idea of recruiting that we're like sales people.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's I think, and maybe this is what made me, right? But I don't consider myself sales at all.
Okay.
If I can't sell you on joining the military. Like if you really, really don't want to buy the shoe cleaner at the Providence Place Mall, that guy could probably sell you on buying that shoe cleaner because it's like $20, right?
Yeah.
I can't sell you on joining the National Guard for 6 years and going to basic. Like there are some obvious pros, which we already know.
Yep.
But there are some cons, like some minor cons that can be overcome. I'm a guidance counselor. That's how I view, like you have an end goal and I'm going to help you get to that end goal. Whatever that end goal is. If you want to go to school for free, I got something for you. You want to be a diesel mechanic, I got something for you.
Yeah.
Now as a recruiter, there are definitely like ways that I can highlight what you're interested in with what we have, but I can't sell you on joining the military.
Sure.
Right. I can help you get to your end goal, and hopefully your end goal aligns with our end goal, and we're, everything's copacetic. We're good to go.
Yeah.
But in high schools, especially, bringing it back to that, you get that. Like, hey, you're about to hit the real world. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Oh, I want to be I don't know. I had a kid that wanted to be this is the craziest story. I had a kid walk up to my table display once. He's like, hey, I've been thinking about joining the National Guard. I'm like, that's cool, man. Like, what do you want to do in the civilian world? What makes you want to join the National Guard? He's like, I really want to work on what was it? He's like, I want to go to school to be petroleum engineer. I'm like, you want to be a petroleum engineer? I'm like, are you messing with me right now? At the time, like 92 Fox had like a $20,000 bonus, and petroleum supply is not exactly petroleum engineer, but the training is they have to understand all of the petroleum stuff and all the chemicals that go into everything like that. I'm like, dude, do you want $20,000? And I can have you be like a petroleum supply specialist, and I told him straight up, like, it's not petroleum engineer, but you're gonna get that kind of like, it's gonna be aligned with what you want to do, so you're gonna get that like hands-on experience with it. He's like, yeah, that sounds perfect. So all of that to say, like, I would never try and sell that kid on a job that wasn't aligning with what he wanted to do.
Sure.
And he just happened to, it was just the weirdest experience I think I've ever, I get a lot of kids come up like, I want to be infantry, I want to be special forces, I want to be an MP, but a lot of times recruiters and the general public forget about those support MOSs, and like there is something for everybody.
There really is,
especially here in a small state like this.
I'm a huge fan of the value we provide for guys who actually don't really have a life's goal yet. Like, plenty of dudes, 18 years old, don't really know what they want to do. And it's like, okay. And that's fine. I didn't know what I wanted to do at 18.
Yep.
I didn't commit to like a career path until I was probably 25. And then it turns out I jumped that career path to join the full-time guard here.
Yeah.
So like I'm the king of not being a little wishy-washy. This is not a moral judgment. But like, if you don't really know what you want to do with your life, that's at 18, I think that's great. Come tread water with us.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to accumulate better benefits faster anywhere else treading water than here.
Productively figure it out.
Right.
Right. Like, so that's exactly how I joined.
Yeah.
I've changed my college major 6 times. Right.
I knew I was going to like you.
Yeah. I've changed it like 6. So it started at history. It went all the way to like business and all this other stuff. And then it ended back at history. So I probably should have just stuck with it. But, I'm like literally a product of that logic. Like, I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do, but the guard gave me, so you said like tread water. Like the guard, pushed me off the diving board, so to speak. Right. Cause now I had like an ability to kind of like fall back on some stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So like in my mind, I was like, all right, I'm going to try this career, this job. I worked at like a hotel. I did like some business stuff. I did sales. I did all this, all over the place. And I would be like, all right, well, I didn't like that. I'm going to go back to school for a little bit, use my GI Bill, figure out what I want to do. And that would happen for like a semester. And I would like try and like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I would try a new job. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they were all jobs that I met that I started going after because of somebody I also talked to in the guard. And then I got a guy. And then of course it's funny. Like I found like a pretty solid career, and then this opportunity popped up. I was like, yeah, we'll try that. Let's see what we can. Yeah. And here we are.
Yeah. So I was very similar, a little more directed in school. Although I switched majors many times. I started poli-sci econ, went through theology, philosophy, and then ended up history, military science.
That's at least, not to interrupt you, but that's at least like when I tell you I changed my major like 6 times, they were like drastic changes.
Oh, like big.
I majored in history. I majored in hospitality management.
Whoa. Okay.
I majored in accounting. Like I bounced around. Like I like straight up dumped all of the classes I took did not count towards the next one. Like it was but yeah.
So I was in school for a long time because you switch and you end up staying longer to get the classes and yada, yada, yada. And every summer my unit put me on orders. They were like, hey, you want to go to schools? You want to just work around the armory doing readiness stuff? And so it was like, I'd go to school for 9 months and then I would be on ADOS for 3 months and then I'd go back to school.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. And then I got out of school and I was scared of the real world. I'm like, I don't want to do the real world yet. I want to stay in school. I'm going to get my master's and go on to my PhD. And they're like, hey, cool. You want to be on orders for the summer? I'm like, yeah, okay. So I went back on ADOS orders in the summer, and guard paid for my master's degree.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, we'll waive the tuition for that. Because I went to URI for my master's.
Yep.
And switched my master's. I went from history master's to MBA. I was like, I'm not scared of the real world anymore. It's time to get a real job, big boy job. I'll get an MBA.
Yeah.
Turns out nobody hires MBAs either. But yeah, so like, as my wife would say, I kind of listlessly wandered around for about 5 years, and the guard was there the whole time, put me on orders every time I needed it, paid for all of the schooling. And then when I didn't make it in the real world, they're like, hey, do you want a full-time job?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I do.
Actually, this is.
And I love it. And now I spend my life getting to tell stories about the guard, which is really good. And then being on the full-time side, I view the full-time program's job is to provide the National Guard as a service to the M-Day guys. Like, we keep it running during the week. It's your readiness NCO, it's your supply NCO. It's like we keep the lights on and the trains running on time so that the M-Day force can come in and just enjoy all of those benefits. Like we keep the place running so that you guys can come in and get this as a service.
Yeah, the truck's got to drive, but somebody's got to make sure there's air in the tires. We're the guys that make sure the air is in the tires.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think even if you just stayed M-Day for your entire career, there's a huge amount of meaning and purpose you can get out of a career in the M-Day. So I was just working on a project yesterday where I was compiling all of the domestic operations we've done over the last 7 years. And I only went 7 years back. So 2018 is where I picked this project up. Not that far. You know that we've had 2,000 individual mobilizations for a domestic operation of some kind? COVID's only about half of that. About 1,000 of those are the COVID response. But beyond that, it's, providing security for civil disturbances. It's rescuing people from their homes when they're trapped by blizzards. It's delivering heaters to individual homes when there's a gas outage in Newport. It was providing bilingual speakers. Same response, the gas outage in Newport, but like they were trying to go door to door to get people out of their homes. Like, hey, we have warming shelters for you. Please don't freeze to death in your house.
Yeah.
And they're like, we don't have enough bilingual speakers. The National Guard's like, well, we got that.
Yeah.
So we put a bunch of dudes on state active duty and going door to door and like multiple languages. It was not just the Spanish speakers, but it was
there's like Haitian Creole. I remember I was on that.
Oh, were you
remember
really?
That? Yeah.
So about 1,000 mobilizations for COVID and about 1,000 mobilizations that like literally like what you see in a commercial, protecting your neighborhood, your community, like pulling Rhode Islanders out of their homes or delivering a heater to that home. It's like, it's incredible to me. And so if you have nothing else going on in life, you can get a ton of meaning out of being like a professional protector of your own community. Like
I kind of miss being M-Day.
Yeah.
I don't know if you do. You probably don't serve, but I kind of miss it. Like it to me, I loved the change of pace of it all. Like I was a 25 uniform, so pretty much all I did was like radios and computers, but I didn't do any of that in the civilian world. I pretty much worked in like, HR and stuff like that, working with people. I liked that 1 week in a month. Like, hey, I'm not talking to people today. I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm that change of pace. As much as I love my job now and I love, being HR, but I don't have that change of pace in my life anymore, right? Like I have to go out of my way to find it. Whereas it was kind of built into my like routine as an M-Day soldier,
Yeah. Speaking of that routine, what's a day in the life of the nation's best recruiter?
All right. Well, you want the real answer? Because my boss is going to listen to this. So no. Honestly, that's tough. So that is one of the things I like about the job is every day is so different. Like I could have a plan for today, and it could change like that. But your typical day, I'd have to do it by week. I probably couldn't do it by day. But the average like routine of a recruiter, especially when you're new, is a dogfight. So you're out. I used to wake up at like 6. I'd get out at like 7. I'd go straight to a school. I would drop some stuff off at a school, try and get into it somehow.
Yeah.
Maybe do a table display. That brings me to about 11. At like 11 o'clock, I'd go out. I'd get lunch in my area, try and talk to people in my area, find like a cool spot that lets me put pamphlets up, stuff like that.
Okay.
That would bring me to like probably 1 o'clock. At that point, I'd probably have some appointments scheduled for kids coming out of class or out of school. So I'd have host appointments, meet with parents, stuff like that. That would probably bring me to like 5 o'clock, and then it's phone call time.
Yeah.
Right? So if people are home, time to make some phone calls. Whether it's a name and number from like a school list or an event that I did on the weekend or something like that, I'd probably call till about 7 o'clock. And once I started getting the like, hey, I'm trying to eat dinner, leave me alone.
Yep.
It's probably where I would stop making phone calls. And I'd eat dinner, and then it's Instagram time, right? So like it's
Wow.
yeah,
That's busy.
when you first start, it's brutal
Yeah.
in a good way because it's fun. It's a game almost, and then that's not counting like MEPS days, right? So,
right. Yeah.
you got to go to MEPS, so that means I'm out my door usually at like 3 a.m. to meet somebody at 4:30, get them up to MEPS by 5:30, at MEPS until they're done, get back, phone call time, appointments, stuff like that. Weekend events, a lot of weekend events.
Man, I didn't realize. I really appreciate my recruiter a lot more. I did not realize that it's like a 3 a.m. wake up to get me to MEPS.
Yeah, well, you got to think we got to meet you there. Like we got to meet you somewhere to pick you up.
Right.
Which means we have to. If we're meeting you at 4, I tell my people I'll either pick them up at 4:30. If they live near the office, I'll just be like, hey, just meet me at the office this way. We'll head back, get everything good, and then we can go home from there. But I got to meet you there. So, and I got to be in full uniform, and I got to make sure that there's no issues when I wake up, because what will happen a lot of times is you'll like project for an enlistment, and then something will happen in the morning. Like there was one time where MEPS just lost electricity. Nobody knew why. Or there's a blizzard or something like that. So I got to open my computer and make sure we're good before we actually head up there. Yeah. So that's at 3 a.m. that takes me like 30 minutes to get my computer open. I'm like, but yeah, it's a dogfight in the beginning.
Yeah.
But if you do all the right things, and you're good, honest, transparent recruiting effort, and you're not lying to people, right?
Yeah.
Which is we really can't do in the National Guard, but
You probably shouldn't do anywhere.
you definitely shouldn't do it anywhere. I'm not saying, but I'm just saying it happens way less here.
Yeah. Small state.
And we're here. Like, this is my job.
Yeah.
For the next 15 years, there's no guarantee they're moving me anywhere. Like, right. I'm a recruiting and retention NCO for the next 15 years. So if I lie to you, you're going to come back to the unit that I'm going to see you at because I put you there, and I'm a small state. And now my brand, I guess, is tarnished because
I mean, you've poisoned actually a lot of wells because of how small the state is.
Yeah.
It's like you lie to get someone in.
The Sergeant Major actually pointed this out to me. He said that do you know how much water can be wasted with one drop of oil?
I have no idea.
One drop of oil can ruin 50 gallons of water. Okay. So like, if you're that one drop of oil, like to your point with it being a small state, you're potentially ruining everybody else's experience in the National Guard or whatever it is. Yeah. But yeah, so as long as you're honest and transparent in the beginning of your first year and a half, right? Yeah. So that goes on for like 18 months, really.
Okay.
Then you start getting, hey, I got a buddy. Hey, my cousin wants to join. Oh, like, hey, you were my recruiter. My little brother wants to join. Stuff like that.
Okay.
So it does ease up
a little bit.
I don't treat it like a job.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have hours. I'm not. If you call me at 9 a.m., I might be in the office. If you call me at 5 o'clock, I might be in the office. I might be doing something else. But if you call me at 8 p.m., I also might be in the office.
Yeah.
I don't treat it like a job. It's just kind of what I do, and the money comes in on the 1st and the 15th.
So now you're a trainer. So you're helping brand new recruiters.
Yeah.
What's like, how do you start that momentum? Like day one, like what's the first thing you do to start building that momentum?
The first thing I do is tell them exactly what I just said.
Yeah.
Like, you need to stop thinking that this is a job. This is not a job. You're a business owner. This is a way of life for you now. And that will make or break a recruiter. Because I think anybody can be a good recruiter.
Okay.
I don't think that there's a certain type of person or a certain personality. I think there's kind of like you find your niche, right?
Yeah.
But not everybody can work. Like not everybody can put in the work that it takes to be a recruiter.
Yep.
Because I can teach you how to talk to people for the most part, and I can teach you how to do the computer work and get all the processing stuff. But I can't teach you to wake up at 6 and go to your school at 7 and like make that part of your routine. So I think as like a team leader, that's probably the first thing. Like, hey, everything you know about what a job is, just scrap it because you have no hours. And then it's just taking them out, showing them like, hey, this is how you want to, if you're at the Washington County Fair, let's say. So I've run the Washington County Fair for a couple of years now.
Okay.
I'm going to bring more stuff about doing cool things and engineers and hands-on stuff to the Washington County Fair because that fits that role.
Okay.
Then I'm going to bring if I'm doing like a career fair or like a college fair, I'm probably going to bring more education-based, Minuteman scholarship, ROTC pathways.
That makes sense.
Stuff like that to the college fair.
Yep.
So like as a new recruiter, I think that's like a very important thing to know.
Yep.
Is you need to talk to people about what they want to hear you talk to about.
Okay.
I think, and I'm not knocking the National Guard's global like national marketing scheme.
Yep.
But I think like we aggressively push education a little too hard.
Sure.
And we're changing that now. Like we've got I was down at the DSMAC. We unveiled the new marketing for the next couple of years. But
yep.
I think the majority of America knows that we get education for free. But the majority of America does not know that we have carpenters, welders, airborne infantry here in Rhode Island,
Sure.
Field artillery. Like they don't know about all that other stuff.
Yep.
So as far as being a team leader goes, that's probably one of the biggest things that I'm like emphasizing for those newer recruiters.
Okay. From a public affairs perspective, I would say I've always been deeply frustrated with how aggressively we pursue the colonial and Minuteman theming.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like, who gets really excited about our colonial lineage?
Not people that are eligible to join.
Like middle-aged and older guys.
Yeah.
That's it. We get super hardcore about our tricorn hats and muskets, and like no one else cares.
Yeah. Yeah. That's our Roman Empire, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. And don't get me wrong, like I fall into that category. So like I get like nerdishly excited when I put like a little Minuteman silhouette on a graphic that I'm making, but like I'm deeply aware that I'm the only person excited about that.
So I agree. I think that's like trying to make that like legacy play.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's the right legacy play. Like the National Guard has been involved in, I don't want to say a lot cooler things, but a lot more appealing things.
Yeah. So tell me about that. Tell me about like who are these 18-year-old, 17-year-old high school students that you work with? Like what does excite them? What do they want out of life?
Oh man, it's tough because it is different, right? So specifically, so I was telling you that I said that everybody kind of finds their niche market, right?
Yep.
For whatever reason, the 18, 19, 17, 18, 19, 20-year-olds that talk to me about joining are mainly in it for like experience, like life experience.
Okay.
So that like a lot of the kids that I enlist don't care about college. They're like, yeah, I'm pretty good. I'm already like in electrician school or something. Like I want to go airborne infantry. Or I want to be an MP. I want to do field artillery. I want to do something else. Like that change of pace that I was talking about, right?
Yep.
I think a lot of, I think the CCRI, we've shifted our age gap a little bit because CCRI is free. So it's very easy for like a high school kid to just be like, I'll just go to CCRI for a couple of years. And then, we get those 20-year-olds that are like, I did the CCRI thing. I did what they told me to do. And, they told me to go to college and at least get CCRI done. And I did it. And like, I still don't know what else to do. Like I got my general studies at CCRI done and I still don't know, right? I'm in the same spot. So I think, that's our kind of market there.
Yeah.
Is those people that, are smart and have real life goals, but they're just still kind of like, I don't really know how to get there. I don't really know what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I remember when I was 18, I saw a couple of National Guard advertisements. And at this point, I don't remember if I'd heard them on the radio, if I'd seen them in a written format.
Touch points.
But it was definitely educationally focused, because when I was in high school, 2001, 2002, 2003, I graduated. The world was still a very optimistic place, and the conventional wisdom was still, you graduate high school, you go to college. When you graduate college, life will be handed to you on a silver platter.
Get a great job.
Right. You'll get a Fortune 500 company job, and you'll work your way up the ladder, and blah, 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 blah. And like every other classic millennial, we got dumped into that job market just in time for the 2008 meltdown, from which the economy has never quite recovered. Unless you happen to own a ton of stocks, in which case the economy looks very good for the last 15 years. But yeah, so that was like the gig. It was like educationally focused. Hey, we'll send you to college for free, and then you can stumble into this silver platter life without any debt. And I was like, well, okay, that's kind of attractive, but also I'm going to get the silver platter life, so I can pay off my, and then
catch-22 thing, like, yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly. But the world was just a very optimistic place back then, right? We had won the Cold War. We had just kicked off the war in Iraq, and we were going to win really quick, right? Like victory got written on it. So it was just a very optimistic place. And I feel like marketing in an optimistic world is got to be different than marketing in a slightly less optimistic world.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious. I'm curious what, my daughter's 2. I have no idea what her generation's going to be like. I think she's Gen Alpha. I think that's I don't know.
Yeah.
But I don't know who Gen Z is. I don't know.
Yeah. And you know what else? I think the world, I guess you're right, is a little less optimistic. But I think they're a little more realistic now, right?
Yeah.
So I remember being in high school, and I probably couldn't tell you who the vice president, I didn't care about any of that stuff. I cared about what were we doing on Friday after the basketball game or after the football game, right? Kids now, they're smart, man. They're keeping up with current events, probably better than me.
Yeah.
And that can be I think that's a good thing for society, right? We've got a younger generation that is in tune with how the world is actually operating.
Yeah.
Right. But so I'm finding that kids are keeping up with that stuff, and they're they're telling me to go to college, but I also know my cousin has $200,000 in student debt and is making $40,000 a year. He's never going to pay it off, right? So they're in tune with how the world actually operates much better than I was when I was 17 years old. Because I was like, oh, I'm going to go to college. I'm going to get out. I'll be a teacher. I'll be no problem, right? I don't know.
I wouldn't be too hard on yourself.
Yeah.
How old are you?
30.
Oh, okay. All right. So you were
you
high school post.
Oh, okay.
Well, I was trying to decide if you were a pre or post 2008 high school graduate. But you're post 2008.
Yeah, 2012.
2012. Okay. Yeah, you're probably too optimistic.
Yeah.
Maybe just hadn't sunk in yet.
Yeah.
But I was gonna tell you not to be too harsh on
we
yourself.
started I don't know. I started high school in 2008, and it was still that oh, trust us, we're good. It's always worked this way. It's always worked this way.
I try to explain to some my nieces. My nieces are 12 and 10, and I try to explain incredibly plugged in, very smart little girls, and I try to explain why we were so naive way back in the day. I'm like, how excited everyone is about AI right now. AI is going to solve everything. It's going to create 10 trillion jobs.
Yeah.
AI is going to fix the world. Now imagine when I was growing up, we were that optimistic about the internet.
Yeah.
Internet's going to create 12 trillion jobs. But I could buy eggs.
Right?
It's not only do we have this optimistic technology about to turn everything around, but my parents could afford a house and we could buy eggs. Imagine how naive.
We could buy 2 cartons of eggs.
You could buy 2 eggs. Yeah. So it's okay. It's easy to get suckered into naive optimism if you can buy eggs and technology is going to save you.
Yep.
It's not one or the other.
But yeah, I think it's super interesting to see that like shift of that younger generation
Yeah.
understanding how the world works.
It almost seems like that'd be harder. Do you think like,
As a recruiter,
yeah, like, do they come to you just already cynical and a little bent out of shape? Like, you're just an old guy trying to sell us a broken dream.
nah, I mean, no, I don't think so.
Okay.
So I it's just it's a different approach. Right?
Okay.
Like I can't go up and be like, listen, I got the solution to all your problems, right? Like join the National Guard and you're good for the rest of your life. Like you don't have to worry about anything, dude. It doesn't really work that way, as we know, right? So you just have to be real with them. You have to be honest with them.
Yeah.
Like there are days where you're gonna wake up and you're gonna say, like, brother, what am I doing? Why am I here? What, like 0-7 formation or whatever, and we were here till whatever. Like, but then on Monday you just go back to what you were doing, right?
Yep.
So it's tough, with them kind of understanding how the world works, but I think it's easier for me because I can tell them how it is, right? Like, weed is legal in Rhode Island, not for us. Like that's just the reality of it, right? And so they kind of like grasp, because they're so in tune with how the world works, like those shocking kind of like, this is all of the good things, and it comes with a couple of bad things that you kind of have to deal with. Like, yes, you're going to miss your summer. You got to go to basic training. Like, okay, that's a good trade. Like, because they can process it a little better than when I was like 17. I'm like, basic training in the summer, but what about all the graduation parties? Like, they're like, I'll just go to the next party. Like, it's fine.
You should tell them that at breakfast they can have 2 hard-boiled eggs.
Yeah.
At basic training.
Costs us thousands of dollars. We're really investing into our souls.
No, I mean I can see that. If you are already a little bit cynical is the wrong word. If you're a little bit pessimistic or you have a realistic expectation of how hard life is already going to be, then the drawbacks that we offer might even not look like drawbacks compared to something you might be faced with in the real world.
And honestly, we call them drawbacks, but in my mind, they're not drawbacks. If I could go back to basic training I wouldn't go back as me, right? But if I could go back at 17 years old, like I would go back like that.
Oh yeah.
You're gonna feed me, you're gonna pay me, essentially to shoot guns and work out and like do cool stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think I grasped that enough at 18 years old. I grasped like, oh man, I went to basic training in March because I waited a semester. Like now I'm gonna miss like the summer and not real drawbacks. Like
no, and I suppose if I had to go back, if I woke up 17 years old and I had to enlist, like I think I'd like that. Turns out I do really well with that kind of structure.
Yeah,
that like regimented lifestyle I do well with. And I actually would really look forward to the opportunity to bring my now 17 years of experience online to like help people better than I did before.
Yeah.
I think we had a lot of good soldiers in my basic training class and none of us knew what we were doing. But if we had a couple of like industry insiders who could like
so an undercover boss.
Yeah. Someone who could actually like take the extra time to help them pack a ruck differently, teach them how to set up a ruck differently. Like, I think I could actually do a lot of good.
Yeah.
And that'd make me very happy. I wouldn't be happy being 17 again. That was awful. Like, if I had to do it, I could improve a lot of things.
Yeah.
Which might be nice.
Yeah. So I just think that this generation is like, they're just more in tune with the world.
Yeah.
And those drawbacks. And I tell them those stories like about like, hey man, when I was 17, like I went into basic, I didn't know anything about anything. I just kind of like, I can't even really remember it. Right. Because I was so just like with the flow. Whereas like I think a lot of kids now they're actually grasping some of the stuff that we're talking about. They understand student debt. They understand like needing a guy. They understand how the world works. So you can talk to them like human beings. You don't have to talk to them like a 17-year-old kid and the 30-year-old guy trying to convince him to join.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. I was just actually talking with my NCO before this about like high agency versus low agency. And it sounds like the students you're talking to understand that succeeding in life requires a larger degree of agency
Yeah.
than we understood it when I was 17.
It requires like some commitment. It requires, some sacrifice. It requires work,
Yeah.
right? It's not just
There's no silver platters.
Yeah, there's no go to college and you're good. Like
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, wow. Okay.
Like there are high school kids. There's a kid in my high school. He's 16, 17, and he runs I remember mowing lawns for like $20 or something.
Yeah.
Right, when I was a kid. But this kid's running like a landscaping company. He hires his friends to like, hey, I need you to go do this job. I need you to go. So their outlook on life is drastically different than my outlook on life was, at least when I was 17.
Okay. You should enlist that kid.
I really want to.
You should put that kid in.
I really bad. Reed, if you're listening, come on down, brother.
So I'll say my last guest on the podcast, we talked about the secret sauce of Compo 2. Compo 2 being the National Guard. Compo 1, active duty. Compo 3, Army Reserve. Compo 2, National Guard. And the secret sauce is that we do have a tendency to, because everyone needs to continue having a civilian job, guys acquire all kinds of skills. And that kind of entrepreneurial spirit, like I'm just going to start something and make it work.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it doesn't exist in Compo 1, but like it's just different in Compo 2.
Yep.
And so I've deployed twice. And in both, and then just a massive COVID mobilization. And in all three instances, I've seen the skills, talents, and entrepreneurial spirit of the Compo 2 soldiers get brought online and used for good.
Yeah.
On those deployments in a way that like Compo 1 probably just wouldn't be able to match.
I mean, if you want to talk about like mission command, right? Like the Army, like decentralizing decision making to the lowest level and allowing like E4s and E5s to make those like quick, like that is what they do in the civilian world. They have to maintain these entrepreneurial skills. Maybe they're a leader at their job or something. So they already have like it kind of built into them. And to that point, like I just think that it does separate that secret sauce of Compo 2 versus Compo 1. We have those real life experiences.
I hear about a guy who started his own business at 16, and I'm like, man, I would love to bring that guy overseas.
Yeah.
And like, no one would make a better foxhole than that guy.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I remember we brought like HVAC techs and like electricians with us. Nobody had better air conditioners than we did.
Yeah.
Like, right. Like,
And they weren't HVAC techs
in the Army.
in the Army.
They were like fuelers
Yeah,
or, you know, maybe they were car mechanics or whatever,
Yeah.
but like in their real life, they're electricians, they're whatever. And it's like no one had functional air conditioners but us. They like fixed old refrigerators. They ended up fixing this old Chevy Suburban.
Yeah.
It was this up-armored Chevy Suburban, used to belong to like CIA or some other black op kind of thing. And it was just, engine was seized, the radiator had whole leaks in it, and like this thing was just trash.
Yeah.
And they got it working.
Cool.
You know, it's like everyone knew when we drove by in our Suburban because it looked like something out of Mad Max. To lighten we ended up undersizing putting in some like undersized radiator parts because the original radiator parts weren't working and yada yada yada.
Yeah.
So like to ease the burden on the engine, we had to strip out all the up armor, including the windows, because those like armored windows are wickedly heavy. So this thing looked like a Mad Max, just like death machine. But it got working, and we had a Suburban in Iraq. You know, that's the secret sauce of Compo 2.
Yep.
And 16-year-old entrepreneurs, like, come on down.
Yeah.
We got a place for you. Let me tell you.
But yeah, like I just think that extra life skill definitely helps.
Absolutely.
On this side of things. And I think that this side of things helps those life skills. Like it's a good handshake deal, I believe.
I think so.
Like civilian and military employment. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Came online in COVID too. You talk about mission command and decentralized operations and pushing decisions and authorities down to the lowest level. And it was everywhere during COVID. You know, they're trying to stand up these like distributed, tiny little community vaccine sites, tiny little community testing sites. And they were run by like an O2 and an E6.
Yeah.
Having to make those decisions. And then, like, who knows how to run a massive vaccine clinic? Well, it turns out we have a guy in, well, I did that in Iraq, and before I did it in Iraq, I did it on the civilian side. It's like, oh, okay, you're in charge of designing the mass vaccine.
Yeah.
So it's a useful thing.
Yeah.
And I love that you're grabbing people at the wellspring, giving them the opportunity, and I love that people are taking advantage of it.
Yeah, we're doing. I think Rhode Island's the number one small state right now. Like, I think being a small state helps a little bit with that.
Yeah.
As far as grabbing from the wellspring, because everybody's got a cousin that was in, or like everybody, it's like it's the Rhode Island thing. Like, oh, my cousin Vinny. Like, yeah.
That's a lot of pressure on you guys not to do wrong things, right? Like, God help the recruiter who poisons the well at Cherahoe.
Yeah.
That guy's head's going to be on a pike outside.
That's a small, tight-knit community down there.
That just way out produces in terms of a ratio.
Yeah.
Right? Like, the number of dudes who get put in from Cherahoe is, like, as a ratio, ridiculous.
Yeah.
So God help the guy who lies to a kid from Cherahoe and poisons that well. Let's talk about retention for a minute.
Yeah.
So you do retention.
Yep.
I know nothing about retention.
Yeah.
What's like the 30,000 foot wave top on retention? How are we doing? How do you do it?
So we just kind of shifted the way we operate a little bit. So we actually have a state retention NCO.
Okay.
Sergeant Cataldo. He would have like the real numbers of how we're doing.
Okay.
As far as I'm told, we're doing very well. Mm-hmm. And as far as retention goes, I think our like negative end strength is 1% or something like that. We're close to. So I think the way I handle retention, I guess, is I think that everybody joins the National Guard for a certain reason, right? So you're 17, you join the National Guard because you want to go to college for free. You did 6 years, so now you're, what's the math there? You did 6 years, you're 23. Cool, what's your degree in? Like, I never got one. Like, what do you mean you never got one? So what are you going to do when you get out? Like stuff like,
Yeah.
Like, oh, I got this cool job. It's like, all right, cool. So like but you joined to get your degree. You didn't get your degree. Like, so retention is weird because it's just like everything else, right? Like if I'm asking something for you and you're not utilizing a benefit, why would you stay?
Sure.
Right?
Yep.
So I think it's important, and I think there are a lot of young soldiers that don't understand, because if you're 17 and you're 23 and you start a business, right? We'll just use that example.
Yep.
You're 23, so you have 3 more years of health insurance under your parents because you lose it at 26, right?
Sure.
So maybe they're not using a benefit right now. It's like, but in 3 years, you have to find a cheaper life insurance than TRICARE is, right? Because it's like $40 or something like that.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
For a single soldier,
It's expensive for families with kids, but the savings is even higher.
Yeah.
So I'm not on TRICARE. I'm on a federal, because I'm a technician.
Yeah.
So more than double.
Yeah.
What I pay per month is more than double than what the TRICARE Reserve Select is for family plus one.
Yeah.
Anyway, keep going.
So that's kind of how I handle retention. And at the end of the day, if you did an honorable 6 years and you're adamant about getting out, like for whatever reason, thank you for your service. Appreciate you. Let me know if any of your friends want to join the National Guard or whatever. So like people join MPs and because they want to get on a department, and then they get on a department. I can't knock that person. They did what we asked them to do, and then we got the result there. Now, maybe they want to switch it up. Maybe they want to try a new MOS. That's kind of like the gray area there, I guess, right? Like, but yeah, it's tough. Retention is tough. It's tough. I think we do a good job at retention.
Sure.
I think most of our units, if not all of our units, create a pretty positive culture. There were groomsmen in my wedding that I met through the National Guard, right? So like there is something to say about like being with the people that you like.
Yeah.
But the big thing is the benefits. Like if you're not utilizing a benefit, it's, shame on you, right? And B, like, what benefit should you use? What benefit can you use to kind of carrot on the end of the stick there a little bit? But that's kind of my approach, I guess, on retention. I think there is a reason for somebody to stay. I think there's a reason for everybody to stay for 20 years.
Yep.
Right. And unfortunately, if people don't see that reason, I think in 10 years from now, they're going to go, I should have stayed. Like, I already did 10 years. Like, I should have just. Yeah.
That's a common story. A lot of guys I know who are, they're on the verge of retirement. Now they're in their late 40s, early 50s. And they're like, oh, I've only got 20 years of service. They took a 10-year break in the middle.
Yeah.
Super common story.
Yeah. Like, and it's like, so, I mean, how do you tell that story and let it resonate? Because everybody's answer is going to be, that's not going to be me, man. Like,
I'm not going to come back in.
Yeah, but they do.
Yeah.
And, or they regret not coming back in because when they joined, they didn't have, a bad hip or a bad back. And then they were in and then they got out and now they have a bad hip or a bad back or whatever life threw at them. And now they can't get back in because they got out, right? That happens all the time.
Yeah.
But, as the recruiter, I try and instill that like right out the gate. Like, there are going to be times where you're like, I don't want to do this. Remember why you joined.
Yeah.
Remember all these benefits, like when you're at reception, this is what I tell everybody, like, don't call me at reception. I'm not getting you out of it.
Yeah.
Because that's going to be like your first punch in the mouth is reception. Like, I was in reception. I was like, I changed my mind. I want to leave. I don't want to do this. First time away from home. But I think retention is going to get a lot better because of what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
With like this younger generation understanding, how the world works, sacrifice, commitment, stuff like that.
Yep.
And so I think we'll be good. I think Rhode Island does a really good job of retention in comparison. I've talked to a lot of other states.
Yeah.
So overall, we're killing it, and we're crushing Compo 1 as far as retention goes, and same thing with like recruiting goes. So, it's kind of all we can do.
Yeah, man. Compo 1 has a tough job with retention.
Mm-hmm.
The pace of their life is a lot higher than our pace of life.
Yeah,
and then they got to uproot their families and move across country
like every 3 years.
Every 3 years. And my sister's active duty. And by the way, Compo 1 doesn't build bases and like really. They don't build bases where you want to live.
Yeah.
Yeah. This isn't the Navy.
Yeah.
We're not sending you to Hawaii.
Yeah. Yeah. They're building it where they can get enough land to build it.
Yeah.
And that's not New York City.
So.
But yeah, I mean, I think it all comes back to just that being honest with, I think it's, as a leader in the Army, I think it's important to be honest with soldiers.
Sure.
And as the retention NCO, like, I'm honest. I try to be honest as much as I can. I shouldn't say it like that. I'm as honest as I can be about stuff that I know. If I don't know it, I'm just going to be like, I don't know, man. I could. But I think honesty goes a long way. Integrity goes a long way. If I've told you, like, I'm gonna make sure you get airborne in your contract, then you get to MEPS and there's no airborne in your contract. Like, you're not going to stay in. That's it. Like, you joined, the very first interaction you had with somebody in the military was not a truthful interaction.
Yeah.
So why would you stay down the line?
I like what you said, that there's now like a single state coordinating retention NCO.
Mm-hmm.
This only applies to onesies, twosies over the course of my career, but there have been onesies, twosies soldiers I know who I promise you we would have retained if they could have switched their MOS.
So that's like the concept, because it's very hard, if you're a member of 56, it's very hard to like transfer to an MOS in, the 43rd. And, if you don't know it's out there, right? Because you've only ever done aviation, right? So all you know is aviation. You don't understand how this was. Yep. So that state retention person is supposed to be that person above kind of everybody,
right?
That's able to navigate those conversations a little bit better.
Yeah, because it's well, like, one, I commanded a unit that exists exclusively because of MOS transfers. The 110th Public Affairs Detachment, like they've enlisted one soldier, like in the entire history I've been aware of the unit. Everyone else has been an MOS transfer. So like I've been the recipient of it, and we've saved a ton of careers because, like, for whatever reason, I'm leaving an MOS that I physically can't do anymore. Like, hey, I've done my 11 Bravo thing and my body's broken and I need to do something else.
Yeah, I've been in for 15 years. I mean,
yeah. Or it's just an interest thing. Like, hey, you know what? I became a generator mechanic because that's what was available and I've done it. I don't really want to do it anymore. Great.
And you got to think, like, when I was 17, the things I were interested in doing are a lot different now, like when I'm 30, right? I was a city kid at 17. I liked going into the city and hanging out. And now I'm like, I want me, my dog, the woods, my wife. Like, I just want to exist in nature, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So your interests change. Yeah. I can't expect somebody to be interested at something at 17 and still be interested in it 20 years down the line.
Yeah.
So I think it's important that we.
I think we can retain at least onesies, twosies, and my anecdotal experience.
Yeah.
By really opening that door and making that a more understood and open process. And then, by the way, if someone wants to leave your unit, now this is to company commanders out there. Speaking as a former company commander, like
not me. I'm not saying this.
Don't take it personally when someone wants to leave your unit.
If they did 6 years honorably.
Yep.
And they were like a decent soldier.
Yep.
And they joined, they achieved what they wanted to achieve, and they're just like, that's it, man. I'm good. Like,
yep.
Thank you for your service.
And don't kick them in the teeth for the last month of their.
Don't burn them.
Right. It's like if someone comes to you and they're like, you know what, sir, I'm willing to reenlist, but I want to reenlist in this other MOS, this other unit. Like, just let them go.
Yeah.
Right. If they're a good soldier, right, pat them on the head.
Yep.
Thank them for their service, whatever, and let them go.
As long as we can do it.
Yeah.
Right. There are a lot of people that want to be like 15 tangos and 68 whiskeys, right? And those are like the hot MOS transfers.
Yep.
But we can't have an entire National Guard of 15 tangos and 68 whiskeys.
Sure.
So I think sometimes it is unfortunate to lose somebody that wants to be a 15 tango or 68 whiskey, and there's just like physically no ability to put them into a position there.
Sure.
But I mean, we could do something, right? Like, hey, I can't get you 15 tango, but I can get you to the aviation. I can work with you a little bit.
15 pop-ups.
Yeah. I can work with you a little bit. Yeah. And then, once you're there, once you're there, it's a different conversation to be had.
Right.
Right. You're in the know, but.
Yeah. I imagine you'd want to avoid the situation where they have to ETS completely and then re-enlist where they want to go.
So don't do that.
Yeah. Let them go. Don't make a soldier do that.
They're not eligible for incentives until they wait a year anyway.
Yeah.
Right. So like if they're eligible for like a reenlistment bonus or TSP continuation pay or something like that, they can't get any of that once they get out. They have to wait a year.
And then
who knows if
they come back.
Yep.
Right.
If they are medically qualified to come back or or all of these other things, you know.
So anyway, that's me to all the company commanders out there.
Yeah.
Thank them for their service. Let them pursue.
Yeah. And just as the recruiter and the retention, any advice. I mean, I'm nobody to talk to, first sergeants, company commanders I've been in for long enough, but just that honesty. Like, if I was in that seat and my first sergeant told me, like, listen, we would send you to that MOS. There's just no vacancy right now. Like, stay for one more year. Maybe something opens up. Like, and that's the other thing. Like, a lot of people don't realize that you can extend for a year. Like, you don't have to do another. If you did a 6 year, you don't have to do another 6 year.
Yeah.
Like, if you're interested in an MOS reclass and you're within that 1 year window and there's nothing open, as a recruiter that is constantly watching those moves to be able to just find out what I can put people into, like, just wait it out. Like, it's going to happen. Do a year.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to happen. There is going to be a seat available eventually.
Yeah, because if you do a 1 year, when does that window reopen? Like 6 months later, right? Because you can re-enlist 6 months out. Is that still?
So it's like right away. So like if you're 1 year out, and then you do like a 1 year re-enlistment contract. By the time you're like, let's say you're 18 months or you're exactly 12 months out from your re-enlistment window. So you re-enlist, you get your 1 year. Now you're in that 1 year start date. Like, you could re-enlist right away if you wanted to re-enlist right away.
Yeah.
But it'll open up. Like things could shift around in that 1 year. And
Yeah, I was going to say, because within a year, a lot of stuff changes in a year.
It's crazy.
So as long as you're in the window for the whole, just waiting in the window,
Just wait it out. If you really want it,
Yeah.
if you really want it, and you're not just saying you want it, just wait it out.
Yeah.
Trust me. Like,
Yeah.
I watch those. The training seats and stuff move daily, let alone within a year.
Yeah.
Right? Between excess and everything like that. So,
Yeah. I know when I was younger, like a year felt like a really long time.
yeah.
Then you're in for 17 years
yeah.
and you're like, man, that was like a blink of an eye. I could have waited anything out. I still feel young.
Yeah.
Except for my knees and my back, my hips and my feet and my shins.
And the migraines. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Maybe I don't feel so young. All right, so we're coming up sort of on the end here.
Yeah.
Actually, you asked me not to say that anymore. Sir Naylor,
Sir.
it has been an absolute pleasure.
You want me to say it? Should I say it?
But no, before we close out, what am I missing here? What's a question I have not asked? Something important that I'm just missing the forest for the tree here.
Wow. It's an important question. All right, let's go over. I don't know, sir. You asked a lot of good ones. You hit like all of the. Okay. That was like a perfect. Like I told you, I'm going to pick you up, and I'm going to bring you to a table display, and I'll just have you.
Yeah, perfect.
Ask me those questions in front of them.
Yeah, if you need to enlist a bunch of 38-year-old
We'll take
fathers of one, like I'm your guy. I can pitch that guy.
Yeah.
I can pitch that guy.
No, yeah, all good questions. Yeah, I think Rhode Island's heading in the right direction. You didn't ask me what the biggest trouble.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, you didn't.
Yeah,
ask
what's
me
the
like
hardest? Yeah, what's the biggest trouble?
Training, seat management,
Okay.
and force structure. Unfortunately,
Tell me about force structure.
I get a lot of infantry people.
Yeah.
They're not.
Nowhere to go.
There's nowhere. Not really a lot to go. And it's tough. Like I said, I can't really talk. It's hard for me to talk somebody out of the infantry. If they came here to join the infantry, because they could. Everywhere around us has infantry. Not everywhere around us has airborne, but everywhere around us has infantry.
Sure. Every state's got infantry.
Yep. So, force structure is tough. I think we're on track to getting to a point where certain MOSs get shut down because there's physically nowhere else that we can only do so much excess.
Yeah.
In those hot MOSs. And then training seat management. So the National Guard's only allocated for certain amount of training seats per basic training and AIT cycle.
Yep.
Right? But we're crushing Compo 1 and Compo 3. But we have less seats than them for those training things. So we'll enlist a high school senior in January, and they can't go to basic training till August or September. Depending on the MOS, obviously. But
Man, it was not like that in 08.
it's not. It wasn't like that in 2013. But it's just we're crushing. I don't want to say we're crushing because everybody's doing great, but we're over competing against, the active duty and the reserves component.
Yeah.
But we're not. We don't have the training available to back that up.
Got it.
So then you add training seat management with that force structure allowance issue that we kind of have.
Yeah, there's some retention stuff on the force structure side that there's a bunch of, I don't know if this is a universal term or if this is just a markism, but there's a bunch of dead-end MOSs in the state where there's no career path after E5, no career path after 03, because it's our force structure just isn't shaped in a way that manages careers all the way vertical.
Yeah. But, I'd like to think that in the future we beef up a little bit, we add a unit or something. I don't know. I don't know how the workings of that world work, right? That's way above me. But if there was another infantry unit, we could fill it.
All right.
So
maybe a battalion headquarters.
Something.
So,
yeah.
I had a guest on my podcast, Major Tim O'Leary. Has got to be one of the best officers I've ever met. And we've lost him because there's no vertical path for him.
Yeah.
And he's just Ranger Tab, unbelievable officer.
And it's nobody's fault.
No, it's nobody's fault.
And I don't want to say there's nothing we can do about it, but there's nothing we can do about it right now. Right? There's no instant solution for it. So
And there was horizontal places. Like he would have been the best OCS commander. Like he would have been a phenomenal, but he wanted infantry. Like he was born and bred, dyed blue.
Yeah.
And so I think he went to Pennsylvania, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
It's just, that's a shame.
Yeah.
Super good dude. All right.
Good problems to have, though.
It is a good problem to have.
It's a good problem to
It's
have.
a good problem to have.
So.
Could be worse. We could be lining him up to kick him out.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming on.
Thanks
It's
for
been
having
an
me.
absolute pleasure. I hope this has been fun for you. It's been a lot of fun for me.
Yeah, I'm a recruiter. I love talking. Do you know anybody that wants to join that?
I don't know anybody, brother. All right.
Cool.
Until next time.
Until next time.